Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Anna.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at Vienna Connection.
This is a new game from Ignacy Trzewiczek and Jakub Boschetti, and it's published by Portal Games.
It plays from 1 to 5 players and each mission takes about 2 to 3 hours.
So, Vienna Connection, we heard about this first when we visited PortalCon last year in January, and now it's here.
Yay.
This is kind of like a not re-implementation, but a new game in the detective system of games. So an overview here is going to be like super quick because you are basically a detective or investigator. So we're not going to spoil a lot here. We might spoil some mechanisms that are kind of hidden in the game, but we're gonna do our best to not spoil anything that will take away from the experience when you play the game.
Yes.
So overview, super simple. You are basically a agent set in the mission, and you are here in this game. You are in 1977 in Europe. And that's basically what we're gonna say. What you're doing is you are, like in Detective, reading lead cards, following up leads, and trying to find out what is going on in the different missions. It's a scenario-based game with 4 missions, which makes up a campaign. We're gonna go more into this, like I'm kind of way here now, because we're gonna more into this when we talk about the actual gameplay, because most of the overview stuff is gameplay stuff. So let's briefly talk about artwork components and playtime and player count, because before we go into the meat of the review, which is gameplay.
Yeah, so let's do artwork and components first. So a lot of the things you find in this game is familiar if you haven't played Detective. I really like some of the additions to the components in this game. You have these really cool case files. I'm not going to show any of them to you, just like case files here. And these are like a big stack of them.
I think there's 100 of them.
Yeah. They look really cool and they really add to the immersion of the game. And also, I feel like the theme here is set very good. I feel like I am in 1977 in this conflict between the East and the West.
So basically, if you have not played Detective, there are other components than the files as well.
Yes.
You have a pile of lead cards, which is basically how the game is operating. You're reading a lead card, and also you are using an online app called Antares Database, where you just log in and you choose Vienna Connection, and then it takes you to that kind of place on the app. So you add some information there, and you need that to play the game, but it's not a big part of the game. So it's not like with Destinies where the app is super important to talk about. Here it's just like making the game work, basically. So you're not going to go deeply into talking about the app.
Yes.
Playtime, we played 2 players, which we usually do with these kind of storytelling, campaign-driven games. And for scenarios, the box has 2 to 3 hours. We spend between 2.5 hours and 1 hour and 40 minutes. And all in all, we spent 8 hours on the campaign, like 8 hours, 20 minutes on the whole campaign. So let's talk about the gameplay. We have already briefly mentioned this. It's basically almost the same as in Detective. You are going to be reading lead cards, and those lead cards may get you other lead cards, or in this new version, give you files that you can read to read more information and give you more lead card. There is some new stuff in the gameplay. They have now added some ciphers. And they have added some of these kind of puzzles.
Yeah, I really like those actually. I feel like those add to my escape room solving brain, and those are really fun, and I feel like I'm like deducting secret encrypted information. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and the ciphers are like they're number ciphers, so you have to like find out what the X is usually, and there's some other stuff as well that we're not gonna go into. And just want to say that there is a way to skip the cipher, so either if you just don't enjoy it, or if you are stuck on a cipher, you can just write it in and you will get the solution.
Yeah, I like that option as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Before we go into like the story, just that there is one big major difference here that we're going to talk more about soon, which is the like puzzle fragments, because the game now knows what you know based on these puzzle fragments that you find. So when you read something, it will say like the group gets a puzzle fragment, and then you will add some numbers into the puzzle site on Antares, and also some letters, and then you can also guess the word when it goes, like there's a keyword that you're trying to guess, and also get those numbers from the card. So let's talk about like the setting and the story before we go into gameplay, like the big gameplay stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but I think like the writing of the story is really good. It's still some fluff text, like in the original Detective, you're for example going someplace to get see the abduction of a corpse or something, and then you basically what it says on the cards is you're eating a donut and waiting in line, and you're waiting for the guy that is getting your information, and it takes like a lot of time, and you just like live in this bureaucracy of being a detective. It's a little of this just setting, and I still enjoy that.
Yeah, I think they've done like I didn't mind. I know people hated that. Many people hated that in Detective. I liked it. I thought it was like a fun thing added to the feeling of being a detective. In this game, I think it's really good. Like the fluff text is setting up how life was in that area, in the countries that you are in. Like there's a lot of text like, I don't need this for the story, but it gives like a feeling, okay, this is happening, and there's real historical things happening, and there's other non-historical things happening, and yeah. So I think like, do you agree with me? Like you feel like the game feels kind of like historical.
Yes, I agree. I have heard about this period in history. Of course, it speaks of a quite like tense feeling of that you can be like watched or what do you call suspected for like suspicious activity. So in this mystery that we're trying to solve, it is this tense like cloud hanging over us at all times, and I think they've done a great job at getting that across.
Yeah, I feel like you get the feeling that you are in that time period.
I agree.
Let's just talk a bit about the story. Do you feel like it's a good story?
I feel like it's alright.
Yeah.
I don't care like immensely for the characters.
Nope.
We don't like get super close on them like one-to-one, I feel like. It's more of a distance between the persons, is my personal opinion. So the story isn't like, whoa, what? Like I had kinda in the first Detective. So it was alright. It's more of a setting.
One thing I have to say, like before we go into some stuff we do not like, which is coming soon, is that I am not into history.
Yes.
I know that's probably horrible, but I've never been like interested in it. And I feel like if you are interested in this time period, or you might be like inclined to be interested, I think it'll be more fun to play.
Oh, yeah.
Because for me, there's so many names, and there are Russian names and Belgian names
and years and dates.
And yeah, but the names, especially like the places and the names and all that, is so hard to remember because there's just like so much information. And I don't mind information, just like this information isn't that interesting to me. And let's talk about why. Because the big question is, did we have fun playing this game? And I'm gonna answer no, I did not.
And that sucks.
It hurts so much.
Yeah.
Because Detective is still one of my favorite experiences playing a game ever.
Yeah, we love Detective, and we were like excited for this as well. We were like open for new things, but we think that some of the changes in this game has like majorly broken the experience for us personally.
There is one change, and it's a big one, because it changes the whole concept of the game. And that change basically destroys the game for me. Because when I play Detective, I don't want to sit down and follow a story. I want to sit down and I want to solve a crime.
We're detectives.
I want to solve a mystery. I want to be like, when we play Detective, I got like goosebumps when I understood like, oh, that might be that person going there and doing that. And that is what I want to do. I want to feel smart when I understand the puzzle. I want to solve something. And you don't solve anything in this game. Because what they have done is that at the end of the scenario, there is no questions anymore, like there is in Sherlock Holmes, Chronicles of Crime, Mythos Tales, and Detective. You answer questions at the end to see if you got what was going on. You do not do that here. Instead, you have the puzzle fragments.
Yeah.
And so basically the puzzle fragment, if you happen to get the cards that tells you those puzzle numbers, and you get the letters, then the game can know that you understood that.
Yeah, that is kind of the concept, that the website or the game will understand what information you have and by the puzzles you find. But in some cases, we found puzzle pieces and we didn't connect the information, so we actually didn't know, but we had the puzzle pieces, so the game thought we knew something. Or in the other case, we knew something, but we didn't find the lost puzzle piece.
And then we didn't know it.
Yeah, and that changes the game for me, because then I'm starting to gamify this experience, and that shouldn't happen for me, because this isn't, well, to me, this is more of an activity than like a game.
But it is a game. But the game is to solve the puzzle. I wanted it to be that. Yeah.
The game is like the story, and but in that case, when I knew something, I was so annoyed that the game didn't know that I knew it.
Yeah.
And then we were just like, oh, let's go there just to get the lost puzzle piece. Maybe that is where we need to go. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, I think like and I'm trying to like to go deeper into it, not to rehash, because I think the problem for me is that I lose connection to the game. Because when we are reading, there's a lot of reading in this game.
Yes.
And I don't mind that if I was going to use that information to something. But I'm not. I'm not going to use that information for anything. So what the game is now is basically a story.
Yeah.
And you get that story, and you might get a slightly different story if you choose to go here or you choose to go there. So it's basically a choose your own story. You choose to go and talk to this person, you choose to go and talk to this person, and you read the information, and maybe you plot something into the Antares database, and at the end the game tells you, this is what you know. And some of the times it was not what we knew. Like if there was a question about for example, if there was 5 different people that you could choose to arrest, this is not actually what happens. And we thought, oh, it's this person we're going to arrest. And that was the one we would have chosen if we got a question. But then the game is saying, this is probably the person you should arrest, because you got some puzzle fragments. But we had no idea it was that person.
Nope.
And none of the information that we have gotten made it seems like it was that person. And that just was a horrible experience. Because for me, I don't want to sit and read a story. I want to be part of the story. I want to change the story. I don't need to change the story. I want to solve something, and that is what I'm missing here.
Yeah, I felt kind of disconnected from the game, and at the end you get also 2 choices that you can make going forwards.
Yeah.
And in the rules it says that there is no wrong choices, but they can alter the game in some way. First of all, sometimes it feels like there are wrong choices.
Yes.
But okay, we're trusting in the rules and the game, but the changes that are made are microscopic.
Yeah.
I would like them to be. I like the possibility to make some choices. We're on an investigation team. Where should we go next?
Yeah.
But I would like it for be a little more. We call it consequences to that choices, maybe?
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
the game cannot know because it's a paper. You cannot know. So basically saying, if you wrote this down, you can now read this file.
Yes.
And that's it. Or you get a token. And that's it. It's not changing anything. It's not doing anything. So basically, I feel like nothing I do matter to the game. And that is it's not a bad game. It's just that I am getting so sad.
Yeah, I expected something else. I must say, I really wanted to like this because Detectives is one of my favorite games of all time, and this sadly doesn't add to that.
No, I feel like I don't know why they could have had the puzzle pieces adding something to that. The ciphers are really good, and then probably other people will feel differently. But
yes.
For me, taking away those questions basically takes away the core concept of what I want from the game. Not from the game, because this is a game they made and this is the game they wanted, but there's some strange things. Like when you cross out things, when you you get exposure like you do in Detective as well. It takes time basically in Detective. And then when you come to a place that says recap, so now you can recap with other players. But why? Why recap anything? Because the game knows what you know, and you don't. It's not like you. Oh, because of this and this. The only thing is maybe if you are unsure about what of the 3 other leads you can go to. And that is another thing I felt basically that we most of the time could go to most of the leads. In Detective, it was maybe loads and loads of leads that we couldn't go to because of time. And here I feel like you go through most of it, so you just read it in a different order.
Yeah, I'm unsure what I think about that actually, but it was very few times when we had like say 3 or 4 leads when we were just like, oh, we don't need those two.
Yep.
Let's focus on these.
Yep.
All felt viable options, and that meant that the discussion on where to go didn't really became a thing for us.
Okay, so before we go into rambling and just going in the loop around and around, we're going to go to final thoughts. Do you want to begin?
Yes, I think I have expressed my feelings about this game now. Actually, I wouldn't like recommend this. If I could recommend Original Detective,
yeah.
I would say play that every time. This feels also a little easier than Detective. I felt like that was sprawling a little bit more and more interesting. Also, the story was more wow, oh, cool. I didn't get that feeling here. What I really appreciate in this game is the setting and the work that is laid into giving that to us. I think that is the best thing about this game.
Yeah.
But the changes of a system that worked perfectly fine as it is, I don't like that at all.
Nope.
And that makes this like in the same pile as Detective Season 1, which I also didn't really like that much. I think we're down to a 5 here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, and remember, watch all the reviews, because other people might love this, and I cannot tell you what I would felt about this game if I hadn't played Detective, because that's impossible. I have that. And trying to like put that down, I still feel like it's kind of trying to do two different things, like giving you choices and doing that, but also having like a railway story. And because the story is good, it's fine. Like it was in Detective. I don't think the story was amazing in Detective either, but it was amazing because you got to understand, you got to get that feeling of, oh, it's because of that, and you understood something. And you don't get that here. So you get just like an okay story that you read through in an order, and you get some choices that don't change anything, and it's fine. I think it's fine. I agree with you. It's a 5, and mostly like I'm just disappointed.
Yes.
And not because like, and it's strange because they definitely wanted to make the game the way that it is now. But for me, it doesn't work. Does it mean it's a bad game? No. Does it mean you won't like it? No. But for me, the changes they've done didn't work at all, and I hope they go back to making normal detective stuff, because that is amazing.
But I hope that they take some of the things from here, because there's some like the little puzzles and some of the elements I really enjoyed to make this an immersive
game?
Nah, experience is the word that I'm looking for. I just didn't think of the English word. But I hope they go back to the original Detective style of making it, and I hope for more games made that way.
Because I'm pretty sure if this game had like the questions and made me feel like I could solve something,
I think I would love it. Yeah, I would.
So I'm giving it a 5. You're giving it a 5.
Yes.
That is the end of a review. A review I hoped I would be more positive about, but sadly didn't end up that way. But that is the end. If you are still here and you have not subscribed, please do so now. It's free and it makes us happy like this. And if you want to do something that's not free, but it's still fun, you can go to patreon.com/boardgamingramblings and you can support us there. It helps a lot if you had the possibility to do so. And that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sunniva.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.